not come out with any of these, earth-shaking technology that we are seeing today. If you look at a company like TCS, it was set up in 1940s, I think 47 or something, which basically means it was set up 70 years back. But then, if you look at a company like, let's say, Google, which was set up in 98, just 20 years back. A lot of people ask this question: why that such an old company, established company, is not able to, come out with the breakthroughs? The reason is that that is an old company, that is an established company. So this is a typical case where your strengths become your biggest weakness. Many times we talk about these kind of things as your strengths. In the management parlance, when we do a SWOT analysis, people write that 200-year-old company, established brand like TCS, they may say 5 lakh employees working, very strong presence and all that. But you should understand they are your biggest threats and bottlenecks and constraints when you look at technology changes. Because changing 5 lakh people, changing a structure of, structure and design for 5 lakh people with 70 years history is so difficult. Whereas other companies find it so easy. And that is reflected in the market value. For example, if you look at a company like TCS, the value of the company is $100 billion US. Whereas if you look at something like Google, the value is $1,500, 15 times. 15 times that of TCS. Or a company like Apple, which is also more or less the same thing. Right? So this is what a technology-driven approach can do to a company. They will find it so easy to navigate. So when it comes to technology changes, again, as we are discussing, there are two types of technology changes that many of you will know. One is called the incremental technology changes or the sustained technology changes. Other one is called the disruptive technology changes. Incremental technology changes are something that, as I said, traditional organizations are very comfortable with. Or in society, human beings are all comfortable with incremental technology changes. They change little slowly. Like your mobile phone versions. Like we are all using smartphones maybe for the last 10 years, and we are very comfortable the way smartphones are improving with respect to their features. That is an incremental improvement. Because earlier you say that I had a 3 MB camera, now we have 15 or 50 MB camera. That is fine. My storage space was only 16 GB, now it is 128 GB. These kind of changes that we are talking about are all incremental. Or my display screen is becoming better. This is fine. Companies compete. So most of the competition that we talk about in the world today are based on incremental innovation. They compete on features, right? They advertise on features. Or otherwise, how do mobile companies compete on? There is absolutely no difference when it comes to what a mobile phone can do. Whether you are talking about an Apple or a Samsung or any Chinese phone. But then they talk about features. My camera is better, my display is better, my battery life is better, etc. These are all incremental changes, or in management parlance, we call it the red ocean strategy. Where in the same ocean, you compete, you kill each other, and the ocean becomes red. You obviously you will have to. It is a very, very painful process. You grow at somebody else's expense. Disruptive changes, as many of you will know, is something that is talking about fundamentally different processes. It actually is not looking at the existing. It is looking at something called the blue ocean, something that nobody is venturing into, and that is where these people experiment. This word disruption, most of you will know the term that was popularized by Christensen through his classic book called Innovator's Dilemma. Those who haven't read it should definitely read that. How typically, companies find it difficult to adopt new innovation. Again, Britannica is another classic case. But all of these examples we are talking about, again, illustrated here. Because in the initial phases, as you bet on a disruptive technology, there is no market. People will not listen because it's nothing in it. Your customers will not ask for disruptive technology. They only ask because they cannot imagine a disruptive technology. They will only ask for incremental improvements. A mobile phone customer will only ask you for better camera. They will only ask you for a better battery. They cannot imagine a completely different product which looks so different from a mobile phone. But a company should. So if a company that is trying to invent a product that is so different from the existing smartphone, look, something like a bio-enabled phone, something that your hand will act like a mobile phone, without having any device here. It's a disruption. A customer cannot give you that idea, but as a company, if you start working on that idea, after some time, probably there will be a market. But existing companies find it difficult because they have an existing product. That product will have to be improved. That product will have to be supported. Their customers will have to be made happy. Their competitors should be fought. In that process, you don't have enough time devoted for the new product development. And that is why some unheard of people working some garages, some incubators come out with these breakthrough technologies, and they come to the market like the Facebooks and the Googles and the Apples of the world. So supporting that technology change, which is disruptive, which is very, very rare. Very, very rarely disruptive technologies come. Not all technologies are disruptive. That is why it's called a black swan. In management, we call it a black swan. Because as we know, all swans are normally white. Probably one in a million or 1 in 10,000 swan may turn out to be black. So sporting that is a huge challenge, which normally go unnoticed. In the plethora of technologies that come, companies normally lose sight of, but the smart guy will identify that, catch it, and use it. That is how the Amazons are born. That is how most of these companies are born. Like some breakthrough technologies which went unnoticed. One or two examples there. Like how when the founder of Xerox, Carlson, went to National Inventors Council of funding for his Xerox machine, and he was rejected, saying there is no business to this, and they thought there is no market for taking photocopies. He was asked, why should somebody take a photocopy when the original is there? So people could not understand that there could be a potential market for photocopy or a duplicate copy. Similarly, when telephone was invented, again, as some of you rightly said, one of the initial inventions of the world, when they approached Western Union, who were basically into money transfers, and he said that there is no market for a telephone. There is no way you can make money out of a telephone. So many times what happens is that you are not able to understand a disruptive technology, its power from a commercial perspective. So the moment you are not able to find a commercial perspective to it, you don't invest. So radical technologies are basically those technologies which are new, and it is equally important that you have a new business model, which is also very important. Just because you have a new technology doesn't mean that you are going to make a lot of money. That is why I told you earlier also. 70% of the new technologies which are invented rest very safely in patent offices, in somebody's computer, somebody's laboratories. No use. But the moment you have a very strong new business approach to that technology, you have a radical innovation bomb. You have a radically different, disruptive company bomb. Sometimes it may not be very disruptive, but at least it could be semi-radical. I mean, in the sense it could actually create some changes. For example, your technology may not be anything great, but you may have a slightly different approach. This is one example. Like, what is the difference between Alta Vista and Google? Right? If you ask me, why we all respect Google as a great company and Alta Vista is no more there. I don't know how many of you have heard about Alta Vista. Alta Vista was one of the world's first search engines. It came out of the MIT lab, developed by MIT researchers. Very strong, powerful search engine. But then Google just came and conquered the search engine market, and all others wound up. Similarly, Facebook was not the world's first social media. We all know that. Friendster was probably the first social media developed in a campus. Again, just like Facebook was developed inside a campus in US. I think it's Harvard again. Right? And then we had the Orkut, which all came before Facebook, but only Facebook could survive. Why is that these companies, though using not completely new technology, because technology was invented by somebody else before. This is again very different. This is the difference between invention and innovation. Alta Vista and Friendster were probably the first inventions with respect to whatever they are trying to do. Alta Vista more or less invented search, web search. Friendster more or less invented social media. But invention not necessarily translate into an innovation, into a business, into a disruptive industry. For that, you should have a very clear business vision also. Business vision basically means how do you make money out of this invention. If you have no idea how do I make money out of it, then it has no value. Alta Vista failed not because it was inferior to any other search engine technically. It failed basically because they did not have much of an idea how do I survive, how do I make money. In the future, that is so important. Google had a very clear answer. Google had only two choices. One choice was charge the customers for every search. Other choice was probably, go for the advertising group. And they went for the second. The rest is history. 5 billion searches every year, every day. So same thing with Facebook also. They have decided to make it free and then go for the advertisement based route. Then they again modified on their business model, like they have improved it as data agent. They're selling data now. They're making big money through data analytics now because they have a huge collection of data in the world. In Google, we say what is there in somebody's mind, only 3 people know. What is there in your mind, only 3 people know. You will know, God will know, and Google will know. Nobody else knows. Because that is the kind of the quality of the data Google hold on to, and they make huge money by selling those data, making data analytics, Google Analytics, many people know, and it sells like hotcakes for companies. So the moment you have a good technology backed by a good business model, you are making the best out of that technology. Otherwise, it, as I said, it just remains like many other professors, my colleagues in my university. If technology could make people a billionaire, many of my professors have been billionaires by now. But they are remaining ordinary people because it is not a commercialized. There is no business model to that. So I may not get into all details. It's basically more or less the same thing. Now the last part here, before I look at the impact and the work, I just wanted to, again, since we discussed a lot about Britannica and similar companies, again I want to ask you, what is that Britannica could have done? Do you think Britannica could have acted on time and saved itself? Like you said, they should have reacted when digital technology came, when CD-ROM came. Do you think they could have survived if they have acted well in advance? Or is there any way they could have survived? What do you think? Any answers? Any answer? Any way they could have survived? No answers? If somebody is awake?
Sir, if they could,
yeah.
If they could sell computer along with the CD.
You mean they should have become a computer company?
Yeah, changing their business.
No, but then becoming a computer company is not so easy, right? Because this is a print company. They cannot start making computers because that is a technology. IBM's and Apple's are making computers.
No, they have to collaborate with other companies.
Yeah, okay, fine. So basically, you are trying to say that they could have collaborated, made their own CDs, and tied up with IBM and distributed their CDs through those companies.
Yes, sir.
Any other answer? Who is making money today? Like we know that Britannica is lost. They made a lot of money at some point of time by selling knowledge. They made money. But now who is making money now by selling knowledge? Where do you go if you want to refer something? What is your alternative now? Where do you go? Earlier, your previous generation probably depended on Britannica for reference. People say Google, yes, but in Google, when you normally Google something, what is probably one of the most authentic sites that Google is a search engine which will help you to reach. So where do you normally Google? Where do you end up finally? Like, you want to know something. Wikipedia, somebody rightly said Wikipedia. Usually most of us land in Wikipedia for our answer. Google takes you. Google is so comfortable with Wikipedia. Most of the questions are redirected to Quora or Wikipedia or etc. How is Wikipedia? What kind of money do Wikipedia making? Is that a very big company? Like there is an article we said Britannia, Encyclopedia Britannica lost to Wikipedia when we had Wikipedia giving away information free of cost. How can we survive? How can we make money? So is Wikipedia making a lot of money? What do you think? What do you think? I don't know. Though all those who have seen referring to Wikipedia last week would be shocked by their banner on top, right? Where they said, please contribute 100 rupees. This is so important. It's more as good as a begging bowl, right? I have never seen such an emotional appeal made by any side. Please don't ignore. Please don't go away. I don't know how many of you have seen that. Yes? Yes. Correct? So what does it mean? So that means they are also in trouble. Correct. The company that destroyed Encyclopedia Britannica, now the ultimate king of knowledge, the reference point. Again, mind you, the last statistics said 4.5 billion hits they get every year. That is the seventh most popular website in the world, supporting some 200 languages. And that is a company coming to you with a begging bowl asking, please at least 500 rupees. Correct? And that is the word we are talking about. Very strange word, right? The impact of technology changes. Because you cannot, you have reached a stage where information is taken to be free. You cannot make money by distributing knowledge. So you will have to have another alternative. So this is a company who said, I will not have advertisement. Google was very clear. Alta Vista also had the same philosophy. We will not have advertisement. Google said, we will entertain advertisement, so they survive. Wikipedia is also more or less at the same point now. How are they surviving now? They are surviving thanks to a lot of donations they get. For example, last in 2019, Amazon gave them $1 million American from their charity funds. Bill Gates Foundation regularly support Wikipedia from their charity funds. So they're surviving only through charity. As long as the charity funds come, they will survive. But so if you ask me, is that a business model? My answer will be no. You cannot survive on charity alone. You have your own model to make money. So what is the future of a Wikipedia? Probably after 10 years, another guy like me will come and talk about Wikipedia as a case study of a field technology impact. So again, so it is so important that we have our own ways of surviving. So not all industries can survive. Like, for example, I mean, the movies, we always talk about the distribution of music and movies. We always talk about piracy. Again, it is, I mean, you should understand again that you're talking about things that many times cannot be implemented. Like, how do you protect, a movie or a song? I mean, the oldies will know. Earlier, the cassette release of the songs of a movie itself used to be a big business. The HMVs and the T series all used to be big companies in India. They're all bound up because that business cannot survive. That business cannot survive when movie CDs are not there because it's all available anywhere. Like, somebody uploads one version is released and it's all uploaded, you get it. You cannot fight technology beyond a limit. It's so difficult. So this kind of impact, certain industries go out of fashion. You cannot bet on that industry. And all that we can hope and pray is that my industry is not one of them. And that is the kind of the impact we talk about the technology has on our work and our skills. There is not an industry that is foolproof, which we can say it is going to be safe. Right? Any industry can be affected. We saw that in the video. This is the latest McKinsey, last year, McKinsey's research report where they're talking about big percentage. They said 1.2 billion employees are going to be affected by automation, meaning that their work can be taken over by machines. Now, what is the kind of impact it is going to have? The kind of impact in terms of old jobs being destroyed and new jobs being created. So we are so lucky so far that whenever jobs are destroyed by technology, new jobs are created. At least 1:2 or 1:1.5 ratio. One job was destroyed, at least 1.5 jobs are created. That has been the case so far. Job displacements were there, nature of jobs have changed, but the total number of jobs only have improved. Like when automation came, the big machines took over the jobs done by human beings. It was replacing the physical power, the muscle power of a person with a machine. And that of course took away a lot of physical jobs, but then created a lot of brain jobs. So overall number of jobs are more. The people could one generation suffered, at least the next generation who actually got educated improved on their skills and made the best out of it. Like as we all know, India all benefited thanks to this move. But then now the next wave which is happening is slightly different. We are talking about the brain work of a human being replaced by a machine. That is what artificial intelligence is all about. You are talking about replacing the brain. Earlier, as I said, that when the muscles were replaced, you could survive with your brain. More brain jobs were created. But now the brains are replaced, what do you do? And that is $1 million question. I don't have an answer. I can only hope and pray that, it doesn't happen during at least our lifetime. But this is a big issue. Now, certain trends that we observe, like for example, there was a very interesting study recently, GDP growth rate versus job growth rate. Like, probably 50 years back, if your GDP grew by 1%, your your job market used to grow by 2%. Meaning that every 1% growth in economy used to result double job growth. That is very good idea. But now, there was an Indian study which talked about from 1990 to 2000, 1% growth in GDP is accompanied by around 0.8% growth in job market. It is still growing. Job market is growing. It's not coming down. It is growing, but the growth rate has fallen from 2% to 0.8. And after 2000, they say this is 1% growth in GDP is accompanied by 0.1% in job growth. It is growing, still positive. The correlation is still positive. We can be happy about it. But basically means that GDP improvement or economy growth doesn't translate into huge job growth. It is supporting job growth, but the impact is limited. And finally it becomes zero and turns negative, we are in trouble. Similarly, another big trend that is happening is globalization versus localization. We know big spurt in job market, opportunities for professionals, people like you and me, our friends, basically because of the globalization that happened from the late 90s. Like, we have the data where they say probably we had something like I was just looking at the data. We had in 2015 we had 25 crore people living in the country, and these numbers have increased by around 70% from 2000 to 2015. Right, and these migrant workers contributed to something around 6,700 billion or 10% of the GDP in 2015. So we were all finding jobs. Like we all know in Kerala, a lot of people used to go to Gulf and the US, right? So this migration used to give us a lot of work and a lot of job. But of late in the last 3-4 years, we are all observing a very clear re-globalization or more of a localization phenomenon happening again. Whether we are talking about the Trump policies in US or the Arabization movement which is happening in the Gulf countries, or the Atmanirbhar that we are talking about in India, they all have a local protectionist philosophy, or Brexit in Europe. So that is again another challenge which we all have. So we may have to look at local opportunities being exploited with technology now. But again, that again looks at a very good intelligent use of technology again. How can technology help us to find jobs in America without being in America? Trump can probably block visa, but it cannot block me from working with somebody talking to somebody in US on a Google Meet or collaborating through internet. Now, another interesting we just read recently that the work from home that is happening with most of the IT companies now in the last 5 months have given enough confidence to those companies that you can have people from any part of the globe sitting wherever they are and contribute. So now the question is, why should I be known as an Indian company or a Bangalore company? I may have an office in Bangalore, I may recruit people from America, and I may not have Americans coming down to Bangalore. They will just work from their home in America and contribute. Like it happens with most of the seminars and all there. Suddenly you find that for all seminars and conferences, we are talking about the best speakers from any part of the globe because everybody is comfortable. You are not paying them airfare, you are not paying them any fee. They can sit wherever they are and just talk. So I can as well have the best of people talking. So this kind of a change, which is again, happening, we have to wait and see how things turn out. And finally, the startup movement. Again, that itself is a big topic. So how do youngsters make use of this change in technology is something very interesting to find. We cannot look at technology changes as huge job creators anymore. Like
Excuse me,
in
sir.
the 80s and the 90s, probably the
Excuse me, sir.
technology changes created a lot of jobs. But now, I don't think you may have that kind of a huge employment generating technology boom happening. But you will have a lot of opportunities coming your way, which you can tap and probably make money, which are more of startup or entrepreneurship opportunities. I'm not talking about the traditional entrepreneurship. I'm talking about the technology-driven young startups. So in India, we have close to 9,500 registered startup on an average employing 3 to 5 people, and indirectly employing another 10 people. Altogether, we have something around 10 15 lakhs of youngsters working on startups. Some of them make a lot of money, some of them survive, some of them struggle, but at different levels. And many of them get paid, absorbed by big companies, or get employed by big companies as they go. It's a different market altogether. So the traditional models are no more applicable. We have very interesting models happening in the job market, and that is also something to be seen. So the impact it will have on blue collar, white collar professionals, creative, it is all anybody's guess. Your guess could be as good as mine. We are all very clear the blue collars are already affected. The lower end of the spectrum, they are already affected by automation. They continue to be affected, like as the video was saying. Like for example, when in Amazon factories implemented 10,000 or 1 lakh robots, they would have easily displaced at least, 10,000 employees who were otherwise picking items on the shelf and packing them. Similarly, when we have the cleaning robots becoming so popular even in countries like India, a lot of hotels and malls use self-cleaning robots which will be moving around and doing the cleaning. They are going to replace the jobs of the traditional sweepers. White collar jobs are also being challenged. So is the case with professionals. People used to think that professionals are always safe, but the latest studies tell you that the lawyers and the doctors are again challenged. Like you have some of the best surgeons replaced by the robotic surgeons. Now even hospitals in Kerala, most of the top hospitals have robotic surgery performed. Law firms again, you have huge applications for discovery, extraction or knowledge extraction from the files easily done by softwares. Creativity, a lot of people assume that creativity is something that is going to survive. That is only way we can beat machines, where machines learn from the data, machine learn from the past, learn from patterns. So they cannot perform as of now anything that is out of the box, something new done for the first time. So if you're creative and come out with something new first time, you may have a market. Again, I will just have another video very quickly shared. It's a long video, so I don't think we will have time. We are asked to kind of stop now. So what I will do is this video is called, you can download it and watch it later, full video. Humans need not apply. Is the video. I will probably may just show a part of that, the last, because it is a 15-minute video. I will show the last 5 minutes, which I think kind of summarizes most of the things that we are talking about earlier. Right? You can comfortably watch it later. Yeah, so you can watch it. Technology has always been part of the skill jobs. We don't want people to they'll get more skilled and do better jobs like engineers. Even if they'll bring machine over many additional people if you were talking about sitting in front of a screen, people like you're supposed to be right now.
Replace your job with a software model. Maybe the world's smartest automation engineer could never make it onto your job. How that works is that's not even with the custom the bots out there in the market and bots out there right. If you picked up a newspaper lately, paperwork decision making, writing, but surely the professions are still the same for bots. Yes. When you think lawyer, it's easy to think of trials, but lawyer is actually which is where boxes of paperwork gets dumped on the lawyers that they need to find. This can be online discovery already not because there isn't work to it, but because research labs but that's IBM has a lot of Watson's day job is to be the best at already doing just as autos don't need to be perfect, they just need to make fewer mistakes. Human understanding especially when there are reasons. Dr. Bot's so professionals like our workers well, guess what? You're not. Creativity may look like magic, but it is great. There is this notion that also allowed us to move into thinking jobs. The number of poets and directors given that these are popularity, oh, by the way, background it was written by bots. Her name is she could write but nonetheless, right. So if you go, If worse than like now, there's little work that of course can do to aid towards that. Right. Humans will find themselves. But if you the list of jobs rank by the number of people who perform them. It's the transportation. Continuing downward, this work exists. You would the unemployment rate during the Great Depression was 25% of this.
Sir, actually,
Yeah.
not hearing.
Oh, it's not audible, huh?
Yeah, for that to be audible, it has to be put in the Google Drive, and then from there you have to.
Okay, fine. So don't worry. So okay, what I will do is okay. I will. I'm sorry. Told me. So what I will do is okay. This is difficult to understand without the audio. I understand. Yeah, fine. You can all watch it in YouTube. There's a free video available. This is a 15 minutes video.
Your commentary is sufficient, sir.
Okay, no problem. So anyway, my time is up. So what I'm saying is like it was just like video on the possibilities into future when technology takes over even the professional job, even the creative job. Which job is so-called the safe job? There is nothing called a safe job, as they say. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. So this is my last slide. All that I was talking about is like as we train. Most of us are educators. We are training students. It is again a big challenge what we train them on, and this is a framework people talk about. The initial focus has been on knowing, like what we used to teach them, theories and formulas and all that. So we all know that that is not sufficient. So move down to doing. That is more like a skill program, your ASA program and hands-on programs, practical, lab, etc. So we all believe that skills are very important. Knowledge alone is not important. Memory power alone is not important. The skills also will have to be developed, and that is the way we have redrafted our engineering curriculum, the management curriculum, and all that. But now, if the skills are also taken away by the machines, what do we do? So that is the biggest challenge we are all talking about here. Even the skills are taken away by the machines, then even the knowledge is easily taken away by the machine, because you can never beat a machine with respect to its memory power or retaining power. And that is where people talk about the new concept called the being, which is a culmination of all this. That is where the ethics and the values and the character, attitude, these kind of things also brought in. These are kind of things which obviously a machine, at least at this point of time, cannot replicate. So that is probably only thing that we can hold on to, responsibilities and those kind of things. So that is what we call the being state, which is probably considered to be the safest state to be in if you are seriously looking at job markets of the future. But how do you articulate that? What do we do? It's again very superficial at this point of time. Again, making predictions on technology into future, it's a very risky thing to do also. So all that I was trying to tell you is that the impact is definitely there. We have to be careful. There is nothing called a safe job. A lot of people call up and ask like, what is a safe degree, a safe job? There is nothing called a safe company, safe job. If a 200-year-old company can be destroyed in 5 years, even a 500-year-old profession can be destroyed in 10 years, what is safe? So, very interesting times, and there are very interesting videos also in YouTube. You can watch them. So with that, I conclude. Thank you so much for being there. If there are any comments, I can just read out. I don't think there are, as Radhi sir was saying, if you have any questions, you can put. But I don't think these are like your quant classes where somebody is asking doubts or something. More like views. You can express your views in the chat box. If there's something that I would like to reply to, I can. So once again, thank you so much for the opportunity, organizers and all the participants, for your patient listening. Thank you.
Sir, one question is there in the chat box. Can you please tell the difference between entrepreneurship and startup?
Startup. Okay, fine. I will tell you. See, I mean, first of all, let me tell you. Just like technology, we do a lot of jargons. I mean, many times we survive on jargons, right? Entrepreneurship is something that we have been talking about for the last 150 years. Whereas startup is something that you're talking about for the last 10 years. What is the basic difference? I will tell you, all entrepreneurs, all startups are entrepreneurs and all entrepreneurs are not startup. What does it mean again? Startups are those special categories of entrepreneurs where they set up ventures based on three things. One, it is technology driven. Second, this is innovative. Third, it is scalable. So if you are talking about a venture, entrepreneurship venture, that is driven by technology, which is relatively new, it is reasonably innovative, and with a huge potential to grow, you call it a startup. To give an example, suppose you start a restaurant here, right? In Cochin, suppose you start a restaurant, you take a space, furnish it properly, and start an excellent family restaurant serving the best of Indian, Chinese, continental cuisines. You may make a lot of money. It could be a very profitable venture, and you understand that some restaurants are minting money like anything. That is a good entrepreneurship venture. But will you call it a startup? The answer is no. It is not, basically because one, it is not technology driven. It is driven by the traditional models. There is, you don't find much of technology applications there. What could be the technology application in a traditional restaurant where you're basically cooking food and serving it? Right? It is all very, very limited, except that you may be using some automation with respect to, dishwashers and some cooking range. Or you may be even, there is a restaurant in Cochin which is using one robot as waiter. It's more like from a fancy perspective. Coimbatore also, it was told, is there, right? So, but practically there is not a technology venture, one. And if you ask me what is new about it or innovative about it, very minimal innovation. Like for the last 100 years, people have been running restaurants. May not have the same look and feel, but practically it is the same. And the third is the scalability. How big can you grow? When you have a restaurant with 100 seats, how much money can you make per day? You may start off making, let's say, 5,000 rupees per day. If things go through parcels and all that, it may become 10,000, let's say 50,000. But can you make 1 crore rupees per day from a restaurant? You cannot do that. So the growth potential is very limited. But with the moment somebody came out with something like Swiggy or Zomato, where the food is delivered online, you call it a startup, one, basically because it is predominantly technology driven, less of traditional things there, is more of technology application. It is new because you never had online delivery of apps available 10 years back, so it's relatively new. And the third is, there is no limit to the growth potential. Nobody will ask you a question, how many people Zomato can serve per day? Unlimited, technically unlimited, right? They get something around 50 lakh orders per day. No restaurant can do that. So the moment you have a venture that has huge potential to grow, based on technology and relatively innovative business model, you call it a startup. Otherwise, it is entrepreneurship. Not trying to say entrepreneurship is bad or startups are better. That is a slightly different version of entrepreneurship. The risk is also much higher in startups, right? But then the models are all different. I don't want to go deep into startups, but the way you finance your startup, the way you actually grow are all different compared to traditional entrepreneurship. So that is why I said startups are also entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship need not be always startups. Yeah. So I don't think there are many questions there. So
Since you can unmute yeah. Query. If you have any further queries. So there is one more
and solopreneur, I do not know. See, basically, I hope a solo always means one. So it could be more like, so I will have to say there is a difference between entrepreneur and intrapreneur. Intrapreneur is an entrepreneur who works within an organization. So entrepreneur is a person who always is his own. Intrapreneur is a concept that company is pioneer where within the company you work more like an independent person. So the company will give you all the support, all the funds, all the facilities, and you develop something, and the benefits are shared between you and the company. So an entrepreneur working within an organizational framework is more like an entrepreneur. Solopreneur, I am also not very sure. So I find all enough of thank you messages, which basically mean that's time for me to stop. So thank you so much once again. Back to the organizers.
I would like to request Fiona to give a vote of thanks. Fiona.
Good evening, everyone. Dear Dr. Sam Thomas, sir, thank you so much for such a wonderful session on implications of technology change. Sir, the session was really informative and engaging, and I hope everyone has abundantly benefited from you. On behalf of IUCIPRS family and the participants of the program, I extend our sincere gratitude to Dr. Sam Thomas for sparing your valuable time with us, enlightening each of us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I also thank all the participants for your active participation. Thank you all.
Thank you. All the best.
Tomorrow the session will be starting at 9 o'clock. Participants, please log in with the names as you have uploaded in the ATAL portal. Tomorrow the morning session is role and importance of licensing in technology transfer, going to be handled by Dr. Shivani Srivastava. Thank you.